On this video, I wanted to spend a couple of minutes talking about the latest surrounding the Toronto Blue Jays, who have had a very interesting start, to put it mildly, to the 2025 regular season. So obviously, the Blue Jays have started 17-20, which is still not abysmal, right? They haven't blown the season by any means. There is still a lot of baseball to be played, and the Blue Jays still aren't behind in the American League East by a lot. It is early May still, so we have plenty of time if this Blue Jays team can find consistency. And I think that's the main point. That's the main point of this whole video. The Blue Jays have just not been a very consistent team this season. It seems like when one thing is going well, the other is not. When the starting rotation is pitching well, that's when the offense isn't taking advantage of scoring opportunities. When the offense is taking advantage of scoring opportunities, that's when the bullpen would blow it. And I think this past series against the Angels is a good reminder of, the fact that the Blue Jays still aren't in the upper echelon of championship teams in not only the American League, but also the National League. So the Angels are not a very good team. Breaking news. This was a team, of course, that had Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani on their roster and didn't even make the playoffs, right? They haven't made the playoffs in almost 10, 11 years now. And the Blue Jays unfortunately lost 2 of 3 games to the Angels. And even the game that they won last night, where the Blue Jays were down 4-0 very early in the game, Chris Bassett was on the mound, and it didn't look very promising at all. I mean, they gave up 2 home runs very early in the game. The Blue Jays had an error in the field, which led to the Angels' 4th run. And while you anticipated that the Blue Jays were going to make some kind of a comeback, you didn't know whether they were going to be able to hold it. Well, credit to the Blue Jays, they did. The bullpen was very good last night, and the offense ultimately came through with enough runs. Vladimir Guerrero had a 3-hit game. Anthony Santander, he had a big 2-run single. That was in the 6th inning, and that ultimately put the Blue Jays ahead for good. They were down 4-0, and then they went up 7-4, so they scored those 7 unanswered runs. But there was some great work from the bullpen. Yariel Rodriguez relieved Chris Bassett and pitched really well. I mean, he really stabilized the game there in the 7th inning, especially when the Angels were mounting another comeback. And then Chad Green closed it out for a nice major league save of his own. So I think last night, again, the game against the Angels on Thursday night, the final game of the series, if the Blue Jays can play more like that, they'll be a great team. Because there was a little bit of everything there. There was small ball, there was contributions from all around the lineup. George Springer, even though he didn't have a hit, he drew 3 walks, got on base, was moving around, going from first to third on singles in the outfield. Dalton Varsho had a nice game. Ernie Clement at the bottom of the order was contributing. He had 3 hits. Right, everyone was contributing. The pitching was doing well. Chris Bassett's a veteran out there, so even though he gave up the 4 early runs, he was able to stabilize the rest of the game, keep the score steady, give his boys a chance to come back and win. And even though you saw in the first inning that the Blue Jays loaded the bases on 3 singles and then struck out 3 times, which just continued their seeming woeful streak of not getting enough hits with runners in scoring position, that was in the first inning. Ultimately, when it mattered and the game got later, they were able to cash in some of those more important opportunities. So, again, last night was a great game because it just shows you how great this team can be when they have all the parts rolling. They still have issues from a power perspective. I mean, it's still amazing to me that they still are, right, the lowest home run team in Major League Baseball. The Kansas City Royals this week outpaced them. I saw there was a game at Camden Yards on Sunday where the Royals hit 7 home runs, right, which is crazy. The Royals had been such a weak scoring team from an offensive perspective, and here they were bashing the ball at Camden Yards in Baltimore. And at this point, the Blue Jays are having a hard time getting out of the basement in the power rankings, if you will, the home run rankings of the American League. But again, if Anthony Santander has put his slow start behind him, and he's typically a slow starter, April is just not a very good month for him, March/April, and Santander starts to heat up a little bit, you're encouraged. If Vladimir Guerrero, it seems like he's turning a corner. He just had, I think, a 9-game hit streak, was that? He seems like he's turning it around. You have to like the signs you're seeing from him. Alejandro Kirk has shown flashes, and Bo Bichette is someone who, again, has led the American League hits 3 straight years in a row. He's capable of hitting for more power. He hasn't this year. He only has 1 home run, and it's very frustrating. So the Blue Jays will go as far as they can string together enough hits offensively. They got to be consistent offensively. The pitching is still pretty solid. The bullpen, I understand, they've had a couple of blow-ups here on the bullpen, especially these first 2 games in Anaheim, where the bullpen gave up a lot of runs in the 8th and 9th inning. That was frustrating, but the bullpen has been really good. It's been really good. I mean, I understand it's early in May, and to be having those blow-ups from your late-inning relievers is not a good sign. But still, the bullpen has been pretty good, I think, all things considered. So has the starting rotation. Bassett has really been pretty good. And they've weathered the storm of not having Max Scherzer in the rotation. Of course, they made the additions of Jose Urena and Spencer Turnbull, which should provide them more depth. So the Blue Jays at 17-20, it's all out there in front of them. I mean, the kind of game that they had last night is just a beautiful game. It looks nice. Could really be a great formula that they carry going forward. But we need to see a lot more of that before we sit here and are extremely confident about the Blue Jays being in the playoffs. So we'll react to the next stretch of games on the Blue Jays, and when we do, we will see you at that moment. Thanks for watching, everybody.